Old school, new normal. Hey, greetings and salutations. My name is Retsen Nor. I belong to a group called America. It's abbreviation for the Mystical Expeditionary Reconnaissance Intelligence Corps Association. It's kind of a loose-knit group of people that are interested in ghosts and spirits and things, which I kind of got into in the 70s there, and I watched a lot of television, and they were having programs about using the crystal and stuff, and got me interested in using the crystal. But the group basically likes to go to cemeteries and see if they can communicate with the dead. So I call them cemeterians. So these cemeterians will go over there, and they may go over to the gravestones, and they'll use either something like a crystal here, which I have here, or the new style. It's like this is the compass. It's kind of like a new version. Instead of like an iPhone 8, it's an iPhone 10. It's an updated, more advanced version of the crystal. So let me show the outside, and then I'll open it up. So this is the outside of the compass here. So let's show that. It's a silver compass.
Okay.
It seems to be kind of getting all excited there. It's on TV. It's all excited. The excited compass. And I'm going to show that compass on the inside. And I think I mentioned on the past that you can use a crystal. It's actually a cheaper version. Crystal is actually going to cost you under $100, but I got the new device here, the compass here. When you open it up, it actually is a compass, and this is over $100. Like the iPhones, there you pay more as you get more advanced. So I'll use this one to say, show me a yes. And for me, it goes clockwise. And show me a no. And it goes counterclockwise. So it's a old school communication thing, but not everybody can do this. Some people can do it and some people can't. So if you do want to try it out and go buy yourself a cheaper version, like a crystal, and then you can go and try out the crystals and say, show me a yes. If for me it goes clockwise, and show me a no. It goes counterclockwise. Because I did a program some years ago, and I went over to the cemetery, and I went over to the gravestones, and I put the crystal over the gravestone, and sometimes it went clockwise, and sometimes it went counterclockwise. And I said, oh, what does that mean? I have no idea. So clockwise, does that mean that was a good person? Yes. And counterclockwise, does that mean it was a bad person? So the crystal says, if the crystal said that you go over to the cemetery and you put the crystal over the gravestone, it said that, well, it's going counterclockwise. At least that's how it works for me. I'm not saying that's going to work for everybody. Sometimes you'll have going right and left and up and down. You might have a different form. Mine goes in a circular motion, but some other people might get a different reaction. That's why I said to test it, to say, show me a yes and show me a no. A yes there and a no. It goes that way. And I'm not twirling it around. I showed somebody there, and he said, oh, you're twirling it around. You're twirling it around. I said, no, it goes by itself. You can try it out for yourself. So like I said, I've been using this crystal, and I just got this compass, I think, I don't know, 3 months ago. I said, I saw this in the catalog. I said, oh, man. That's pretty interesting, because it has the sign of the compass, and you open it up, and man, that's really cool, because you open it up and it actually does have a compass on the inside there. I don't know if you can see, but there is a little compass in there. So I said, oh man, that's really good. So when I heard about the food compass, the Tufts Food Compass, check that out. You might want to get yourself a compass and use that instead of the smartphone, because I don't trust these phones here. You could be looking something up on the phone, and it might give you some misinformation. So I'm a little leery about these smartphones, but if you have a good source like the Tufts Food Compass, that's a pretty good source. That's highly recommended. But if you look up something like the Proud Boys or something, and they'll give you some kind of information. They say, oh, the Proud Boys, and then you'll look that up, and they'll give you all kinds of misinformation there. So you have to be kind of careful about what you check out on the internet. I'm kind of leery about it. I would actually use a crystal or something and said, do you think the Proud Boys has a good thing on the internet? No. So I would actually use the compass and check with your crystal or your compass. So we use these things, so that's why I'm calling it old school, because we're actually not using items that are in the modern society. But the new school means that we use smartphones, and I did buy a smartphone just recently here. It's actually a 5G smartphone. They have now something on the internet called the Tufts Food Compass. Now, this is an elaborate, scientifically produced thing that they have. They evaluated over 8,000 foods. And you can check your food on the internet. But like I said, I don't really use the internet. I don't use the phone. I only use it as a radio. I like to listen to the radio. I'm not going to be trying to look stuff up on the internet there. And I'm going to see what the thing says about my phone here, because I don't really trust these things, I'm kind of suspicious. I don't really like these phones, so I'm going to say, is this a pretty good phone? What do you think here? Oh, it says no, it's not a good phone. Well, I don't have any explanation for that. My explanation is that it doesn't like the phone because the internet has a lot of crappy stuff on there, and you can look stuff up on the internet, and you'll find all kinds of stuff that's not really like the Tufts Food Compass. That was based at the college Tufts, and they did a really good evaluation of foods. Like I said, over 8,000 foods. So if I were you, you'd go to your local store and you could look it up on your phone, but I'd rather use my thing here. So I got into the fast food thing primarily because I worked at fast food places for almost 10 years. I worked at Wendy's. I cleaned at Wendy's for about 7 years. I did cleaning, and I had to work there 6 nights a week from 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. So I did work at Wendy's, and then I was on unemployment because Wendy's closed at the time, and then I collected unemployment for a year. Then I went to work at Burger King, but I didn't want to work the 6 nights a week anymore, so I only worked on weekends. So I did work at Burger King for a couple of years as well, so I did get a lot of free food. Actually, I liked the Burger King situation because I got $25 worth of free food every day. So I got in the evening, I worked 11 to 7 shift. I got like $15 worth of food in the evening, and then I got about $10 worth of food for breakfast in the morning. Let's see what the Crystal has to say about that, because I said that. I got free food at Burger King, $25 worth of free food. So what do you think about that food that I ate? You know, that was pretty good. I got it for free. Was that pretty good food there? I didn't really like the food there. Okay. Well, I do like the Burger King fish. That's a really good thing. Do you like that Burger King fish? What do you think about that one? So the Burger King fish, it does recommend that as one of the good foods at Burger King. And I did like the Burger King fish. So I did like to get that more than the burgers. The burgers I didn't really think were that good, so I didn't really like the burgers there. So I did try their veggie burgers. They had a veggie burger there, and I did eat the veggie burger there too. So primarily fish and veggie burgers there. So I did like some of the Burger King food, and as you can see, the Crystal said the fish was pretty good. I think that they also have alongside Dunkin' Donuts that new a burger. It's not really a burger. It's kind of like a veggie burger. What do you think about that Burger King one there? It's not. Yeah, they said that's pretty good there. So my recommendation is that you can check it on your Tufts Food Compass, but they do recommend that. I don't remember what it's called, almost meat or something like that. They do sell it in the stores. You can buy it, so you can make it at your house there. I don't do any cooking at my house, so I just eat out all the time. So if I don't eat at Wendy's or McDonald's, which is my main diet, I'll occasionally try some other place like Panera Bread or some of these other fast food places. I did invite a guy over here. He didn't show up, unfortunately. He knew all about these fast food places because he lives in an area that has just about every fast food place available. He's in South Hadley, and they have a lot of these fast food places over there, and he's probably tried a lot of these places there, but I'm not familiar with some of these other places because I don't travel over to that area, so I'm not really familiar with those other food places. There's a new Popeyes that showed up over here, and I'm going to ask that, what do you think about the Popeyes food? Do you like the Popeyes food? According to this, it says it's not really that good. I actually never went over there. It was kind of expensive, so I didn't really want to go to Popeyes. I actually never even tried Popeyes, so I have no idea. Some people said that they have some kind of a Cajun chicken over there, and I can't really eat anything that's spicy. It gives me an upset stomach, so I would never, ever try Cajun chicken. That's something that I would never try. But let's see what the Food Compass says about the Cajun chicken at Popeyes. You like that Cajun chicken at Popeyes there? I heard it was pretty good food there. What do you think about it? Well, the food compass that I said, well, that's not really that good. I mean, it's Cajun chicken, but something about it, I don't know, maybe the ingredients that they put on it or something, the spicy ingredients, maybe it's not really that good according to my food compass. I said, well, what do you think about it? And it said it wasn't really that good. That's why I recommend people try to get yourself a compass there and see how it works out there. So one of my favorite desserts, I go to Wendy's and I like their oatmeal bar. I said, oh, I love that oatmeal bar. I try to buy it every day, and I bring it home and I like to have it as a midnight snack. So I'm going to ask the compass here, do you think the oatmeal bar at Wendy's is pretty good? What's your opinion on that? And it says, yeah, that's a pretty good snack. Because it says, yeah, the oatmeal bar. So I recommend that oatmeal bar. I love it. So I go over to Wendy's. But unfortunately, because I'm kind of a low-income kind of a guy, I'm a senior citizen, I'm on Social Security, I have limited income. So I can't really go out and buy all kinds of fancy foods and things. So I don't actually even go into a grocery store. I don't go buy food there. So I usually eat at the fast food places. My doctor said, oh, worst diet ever. But I think it depends on what you eat, because you can eat salads and stuff at some of these places, like Wendy's has a lot of good salads. I'm going to see what it says about that. I said, if I go eat at Wendy's one of their salads, what do you think about that? Oh, yeah, that's a pretty good food thing. It says, yes, that's a good one. But let me ask about my regular diet at Wendy's, because I'll go in there just about 7 days a week. I actually eat over there 7 days a week, and I go over there and I'll say I want to get that $5 biggie bag. So I'll say I like that chicken BLT. What do you think about that chicken BLT? Is that going to be okay? It says it's okay. It's no problem. It's not like something that is a major problem. But let me ask about the double stack. Now, sometimes I'll get a double stack instead of the chicken BLT. What do you think about that one there? Do you like that one? Oh, no, it doesn't like the double stack. Oh, man. Well, I ate a lot of double stacks, so I don't know. I'm probably having all kinds of issues there with my health, because I eat a lot of burgers all the time. So let me ask about my breakfast, because I like to go over at McDonald's and have the sausage muffin. What do you think about that sausage muffin? I'll ask the Crystal this time. That's not very good. Okay, well, of course, that might have a lot of cholesterol and stuff there. So unfortunately, that's not a good diet. But they do have that that newfangled meat, like at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know what they call it. It's not real meat. It's an artificial, kind of like a veggie thing. But I forgot what they called it. I tried it once, but it's kind of expensive, like $5 for one. And I didn't really want to bother spending $5. But what do you think about that Dunkin' Donuts meatless one there? Do you like that one? Yeah, that's a good one. So that's actually kind of recommended. It says yes. So my recommendation is you can buy yourself a nice crystal, and you can use that. It's probably easier instead of using your phone there. Of course, some people believe in that stuff and some people don't. And people that do not believe, they may not be able to use a crystal or anything, because the spirits aren't going to cooperate with them. So if they're basically non-believers and they try to use a crystal and it doesn't work, they say, well, see, it doesn't work. So that's a lot of malarkey there. But I showed you that the crystal works for me, and the food compass there is a more advanced version of the crystal. But most people are going to probably look on their phone and check out the Tufts Food Compass, and they'll be checking out how it's rated. They'll eat some food at their house or go out somewhere, and then they may check it afterwards, or they might want to check it before. They might say, is this going to be something that's going to be good for me? So I think that most people will be using the smartphone, and they'll be checking the Tufts Food Compass. I'm going to mention a couple books here that we have as references, because there are a lot of different spirits, and sometimes you may not get a spirit that's really a good spirit. You might get a bad spirit. But I have some reference books here that the group America uses, and let me remind you, that's the Mystical Expeditionary Reconnaissance Intelligence Corps Association. And the first book is called The Encyclopedia of Spirits, the Ultimate Guide. I gotta take my glasses off because they're a little blurry here. The Ultimate Guide to the Magic of Fairies, Genies, Demons, Ghosts, Gods, and Goddesses. It's a pretty big book, and it's pretty expensive. It's like $36.99, but you can get it at the library, because I inquired at the library, and they said they do have that book. So you can first check it out at the library and see if that's something that you're interested in. It's a pretty elaborate book there. The other book that I'm recommending for those that are curious about spirits and things, there was actually a book that was written by a doctor, and he named the book After, by Bruce Grayson, MD. Now, according to this information, it says, After, a doctor explores what near-death experiences reveal about life and beyond. So people do have near-death experiences, and they kind of do talk about it. There was a story on National Public Radio, which I thought was pretty interesting. It was on Saturday morning. I don't remember the name of the program, but they mentioned that this lady wrote a book about her experience. It was like she was kind of afraid to talk about it, but she actually wrote a book about it, I think 30 years after she experienced it. So what she claimed, she saw this on the ground. It was like a black body, like on the ground, and that was her. I guess she was struck by lightning, and she saw that she was actually lying there as if she was dead, but she actually had this near-death experience, and she wrote about it in a book. Unfortunately, I don't have the name of that book, because I heard that about a couple of months ago, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper, but I don't have that information. But there was somebody that did write a book about her own near-death experience, and she mentioned it on the program on Saturday morning. It was, I think, like a 7 a.m. program on WAMH. So like I said, I listen to a lot of radio. That's why I got the smartphone. I listen to AM radio, but I have an AM FM radio, and if you listen to AM radio, sometimes it doesn't come in that good. So I had to go buy a phone in order to listen to the radio on the internet. So I do like listening to the radio, and I get lots of information on the radio. So there was a person that wrote a book about her near-death experience. She saw herself, I guess, lying on the ground, and somehow or other, I guess she managed to get back into her body and get back to life there, but she did experience a near-death experience. So people do have these experiences. So that's what I'm guessing that this book is about. I actually have not looked at this book. It was just a reference book that I was told about. I think they did mention it on one of the National Public Radio programs, because they mention a lot of stuff on the radio there, and I write them down when I hear them. So I try to write down the names of some of these books here. So this was a book that was mentioned on National Public Radio. So I'm guessing that this book might be a good book as a reference book, called After, by the author is Bruce Grayson, MD. So that might be two reference things if you are interested in the spirit world. So that's what I said, that you may get misleading information, because I mentioned about this book called The Encyclopedia of Spirits, and you have all kinds of spirits. I need to take my glasses off again, because this was the ultimate guide to the magic of fairies. They claim there are fairies, genies, demons, ghosts, gods, and goddesses. So according to this book, there's all kinds of spirits. And I want to mention something that happened to me that I think was quite interesting. It was a spiritual thing. I got a cat from a friend, and I thought it was kind of an interesting thing, because the cat belonged to his son's girlfriend, and the girlfriend got killed in an auto accident. So her boyfriend's father took the cat in and had the cat there at his house, and the cat had kittens at his house. So he gave me the mother cat, and I got 2 kittens. So I said, oh, okay, I got 3 more cats here. He didn't tell me that the cat had gotten out when it was at his house, and I guess it got pregnant again. And so I had this pregnant cat. I didn't really know for sure. I said that I'm suspicious about that cat there. I'm guessing it might be pregnant again. And sure enough, I was sitting in this chair. I call it the witch's chair. You know why? Because I rented out for 40 years, and I had a person that lived in my house that left this chair, but she also left a bunch of books on witchcraft and stuff. So she left this chair, and so I call it the witch's chair, and I sleep in this chair. It's actually the most comfortable thing I ever slept in. I said, oh, gee, I love this chair. I actually sleep in a witch's chair. So I was kind of sleeping in the chair there, and I was kind of looking in the dark there, and I saw these flickering lights. There was no lights, because I have no electricity in my house. I didn't want to pay for electricity. The reason why is that I preferred to pay for a new car. I didn't want to pay for utilities. I can't pay for both the car and utilities. I said, well, yeah, I don't watch TV. I use a computer. I'd rather drive a new car, so I'd rather spend money on a car, so I don't actually have electricity. So there's no lights there. But I saw these flickering lights, and I said, I think that was a sign. I said, that was a sign, and sure enough, 6 kittens were born. And I said, that was a sign. Kittens were born. They were born there, and the spirit world notified me, and I did see flickering lights. I said, I think I have kittens there. And they were actually born under the witch's chair, because I went to check a couple of weeks later. There they were, 6 kittens under the witch's chair. I had to dig them out, and I brought them into I had a little cage that I put them in so that they could be with their mother there. So I did get a sign. It was a spiritual sign. So I do have a belief that you do get messages from the spirit world, because I don't have any electricity. I said, why do I have flickering lights? That I'm sitting here and lights are flickering. I said, there's something up with that. And kittens were born. So that, to me, is some kind of spiritual sign. And I get these spiritual signs all the time, at least on a weekly basis. I get these kind of signals from the spirit world, and it's things that I've experienced for quite a number of years. I've experienced these kind of signals, so I do get signals from the spirit world, and I do pay attention. Most people don't pay attention to that because they'd rather have their phone, and they'll check their phone, and they're going to be saying, "Oh, what's on my phone?" And they'll check their phone, so they're not really aware of the spirit world. But if you put the phone aside and say you go to a cemetery, don't bring your phone to the cemetery because you might scare the spirits there. I actually spent some time in the cemetery during the pandemic because all the buildings were closed and it was kind of hot in the summertime. So I went to the cemetery to hang out under the tree over in the cemetery there. I said, well, I'm going to hang out in the cemetery there. And a couple of months later, I was kind of leaving there, and my car scraped a rock on the side of the road there. And I said, uh-oh, that's a sign the cemetery doesn't want me to be there. I got a big scratch on the side of my car there. They said, don't come back here to the cemetery if you're not belonging over here. So I said, oh, okay, spirit world, I won't go back to the cemetery. I'm sorry that I was hanging out at the cemetery. I didn't really mean to hang out there. But I did bury some cats over there at the cemetery. I went over to the side there. I had some cats that died there, and I did bury them at the cemetery. So there were the humans there. So I think that was a good thing, but I didn't really think it was a good idea that I was hanging out. I was just kind of hanging out in the cemetery, having a good time there. So I thought it was okay, but apparently the spirits didn't really like me to hang out there. So I do get these kind of messages all the time. I don't think that was a coincidence. And I personally believe there is no such thing as a coincidence. There's things that happen to you that's not really a coincidence. Example, this morning I went to go buy this book. I was actually going to go buy this book, this Encyclopedia of Spirits. And they said, oh, we haven't got that book. I said, oh, well, can you give me a printout so I can mention it on my program? And I think the spirits said that, oh, don't go buy that book. That's $36.99. That's going to cost you too much money. Don't go out and spend money on that book. And then I went to the library and got this other thing about this other book. And he said, yes, we have these books at the library. So, yeah, you can pick them up in the library. You don't have to be going out and buying them. I just happen to like to go and buy a book once in a while because I do some reading. I don't read that often, but I do like to read once in a while. I'm primarily a radio guy. I like to listen to the radio. And I actually listen to the New York City radio station. Like I said, it's AM radio. And I will mention the radio station in case you are interested. I know that some people may want to listen to it. It's WABCradio.com, and it's primarily a talk radio, but they do have oldies on the weekends, and you can listen to Cousin Brucey, who happened to be around at the time of the Beatles, and he has a program on Saturday nights, the Cousin Brucey Show, and people call in, and he plays some songs that you might not have heard for like 50 years, because he'll have some people calling in and said, can you play this song? And it's an old song that, I've bought records when I was young that I've never ever heard on the radio now. There was a song that my very first record that I bought. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? It was kind of a goofy song. That was the first record that I bought there. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor by Lonnie Donegan? But I've never heard it on the radio. I think since it came out. I think that came out in like 1962. So I used to like some of these goofy songs that they don't play anymore. I don't know why. Either they consider them too goofy or what the story is about it. I liked to listen to those songs when I was young, but of course when I got older I didn't really listen to that music, but Cousin Brucey on WABC radio does play some of those songs, and you can call it in if you have a chance there. So that's something that I recommend if you like the oldies. Most people aren't really interested in that music anymore. That's really like senior citizen music. And I'm definitely, like I said, I'm old school. So the old school thing is really part of my background. And I did grow up in the 60s. I did like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones when I was a teenager. And they had all these mystical things on the records. They'd be looking up. They said, oh, Paul was walking on the album Abbey Road with no shoes on, which meant that he was buried with no shoes on. And they had all these kind of like little messages that they would find on the Beatle records, and they'd play them backwards, and they said, oh, they're sending us messages. And they played it backwards, and John would say, I bury Paul. So people were all talking about these messages, wondering if Paul was actually dead, but I think it was kind of like some kind of a thing that they concocted just to play games. They used to like to play games. But anyway, getting back to the spirit world, you know, I do like musicians, and we had that movie years ago called the Dead Poets Society, but I said, how about the Dead Musicians Society? You think that's a good idea, the Dead Musicians Society? Yeah, and there's a lot of music that's been done, and the people have already died. I had a jacket that was made. I think I showed it on another program. I have a picture of Jimi Hendrix, and it says, "Experience matters." And I used to like to listen to Jimi Hendrix. And you think the Jimi Hendrix music is pretty good? What do you think there? Yeah, it's cosmic. It's cosmic music. I like to call myself a cosmicologist, because I'm into cosmic stuff there. Jimi Hendrix had a lot of cosmic music there. And I do listen to the radio once in a while in the evenings there. Another program that I will recommend, it's music in the local area here. It's Northampton, Massachusetts. It's WRSI 93.9. They have the phrase "different is good," so they have a thing in the evenings from 10 to midnight. I think it's most nights, maybe not Friday night, but it's called The Chill Side of the River. So I would recommend, if you like the spirit world, to listen to The Chill Side of the River. So I'm going to finish up now and recommend that you consider getting yourself a crystal, listen to The Chill Side of the River, and read some of these books, and check the Tufts Food Compass, and that way then you might be interested in becoming one of the Mystical Expeditionary Reconnaissance Intelligence Corps Association members. So that's not on the internet. You'd have to check with some people like myself in order to get in touch with others. That's a secret society. So for now, I'm gonna be letting it go here and mention that check into some of these things. This is kind of a food program and a Halloween program. Like I mentioned, check out the spirit world. They're lurking around, whether you know it or not. Don't spend all your time on the phone. Use your crystal, and you might find that there are spirits around that you can contact. I have my crystal, and we have some questions that somebody was going to ask me, so I'm going to use the crystal to see what the crystal has to say about it.
Are there any celebrities that faked their own death?
Are there any celebrities that have faked their own death? According to the crystal, no, they did not fake their death. I think that Elvis Presley was one of those people that they thought maybe he got overwhelmed by being a celebrity and he faked the death. But according to the crystal, he actually died. So the next question.
Is Ron's house haunted?
Is my house haunted? According to the crystal, it is. And I need to give you an explanation about that because I rented out for 40 years. And back in 1974, I think it was actually my second tenant. Back in 1974, I had a tenant that came to live in a room at my house. And I guess he had some kind of mental problems. I think that, according to what I heard, he took acid when he was in California. He was probably one of those people that traveled around that was popular in that time period, and he had taken acid and had developed some kind of mental problems. And he was in the room. He actually kicked the door down. He seemed to be freaking out, and he ended up at the Northampton State Hospital and committed suicide. So I was quite freaked out about that concept. But like I said, I think the spirit world was telling me, do not rent out. Do not rent out. I didn't pay any attention to that. I said, well, that was just a coincidence. So he was actually the first person that lived in my house that ended up, it was my parents died. My father died first, and he was the second one. And there were 8 people that have lived in my house that I know of that have already died. And that includes my parents. So there's at least 6 tenants that I know of that have died. So, yeah, they might be hanging out at my house there. I have a haunted house. Is that correct? Yes, I do have a haunted house. I think the spirits could be the spirits of the dead. I don't know who it is. I have no idea. Another question here.
Should I use a Ouija board?
Should I use a Ouija board? According to the crystal, no. And I have a story about that too, because there was a book that I bought called The Most Dangerous Game. And it is about the Ouija board. And they claim that you're dealing with spirits that you may and you may not be able to deal with. I had one of the people that I made a program with, and he used to use the Ouija board with his wife. And so what he told me, I don't know if it was true, but he said he put a cross on the Ouija board, and the Ouija board actually flew across the room, according to this guy. So he said that actually happened to him, and his wife was attacking him with a knife. So I don't know. I think the Ouija board was a very bad thing, so it recommends do not use a Ouija board. You're dealing with a fire. What's the next question?
The last question is, are possessions, like demonic possessions, are they real?
The demonic possessions are real. You know, we had that movie that was back, what was it, in the 70s? What was the name of that movie?
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. Now, is that all real stuff? What do you think about that? According to this crystal, it is real. And I did want to mention about that too, because my wife came from Long Island, and she actually went over to look at that house where they had the Amityville horror. And supposedly there was all this stuff that happened at this house there, and it actually happened. And she lived in Long Island. I guess she was a teenager, and they went out to check this house out. And maybe she got influenced from the demons from the house there. I don't know, because she seems to have some demonic type of attitudes there that really didn't work well with me. So I think she might have got influenced by the Amityville horror house. So there are things that do exist, like the Amityville house that was based on a real story. So these things do happen. It's not like make-believe. It's not like somebody like Stephen King, which I think he's getting some kind of Nobel Prize. I thought I heard on the news that they were awarding Stephen King. They said that he's a really good writer. But anyway, you can check the information with the crystal. But like I said, yes, you can check the crystal, and this is cheaper than buying the compass. Although if you want like the fancy iPhone version of the thing, you can get a more expensive version like this. Is this a good thing to get? Oh, yes. You have to pay over $100 for this thing. It's a silver thing with a compass in there. But the crystal works too. You can try it out. So you don't have any more questions? You don't want to be asking about, did the old building that you used to be in, was that haunted? I'm going to ask that question because I worked in that building there, and I think that building was haunted. Was that building haunted? Yes, according to the crystal, it was haunted. So you did have your old studio in a haunted building there. So whether you realized it or not, because I did do a program about that building, and there was some spirits in that building. I think they were up on the second floor there. So you did have a haunted building that you were located in. This building here, the new building, is this new building haunted here? Is this new building haunted? No, it's not haunted. So you're A-OK over here in the new building, and you're not going to be having harassment from the spirit world. So I think we got some questions there, and you got some answers, and I think now it's up to you if you want to indulge in getting yourself a crystal. I would be very careful at first. Try it out there, see how it works out. I would try it with a food compass. You know, go get a food and check with the crystal. Says, is this good food? Is it yes, good food? And you can verify it on the internet. That's why I did this, because you can use the old school crystal and verify your information with the new normal smartphone. And so you can look it up and say, well, I'm going to verify this crystal because I don't believe the crystal. Oh, it says that it's pretty good, and the crystal says it's pretty good. And if the crystal says it's bad, and the smartphone says it's bad, I said, oh, I have verification here. I have verification. So that's why I said, this is the ultimate thing. You have the old school crystal and the new normal internet. And now you can verify it, and you can check to find out. You can use the crystal and ask the crystal all kinds of questions, and you say, I think the crystal is giving me the right answers. So you have the internet now. You can verify it. Check it out. So I'm going to leave it right there and say, hasta la vista, baby.